see you there. Sorry, I was out enjoying this beautiful weather in the sun. Now, of course, when I'm out in the sun, I have to take a lot of precautions because the sun gives off a lot of hot heat rays, right? So I always like to wear sunscreen when I'm out here. And then that got me thinking about today's question. What type of sunscreen will best protect you from getting sunburned? So I think that is our question for today's experiment. Okay, in order to figure out the answer to our question for our experiment, there's an important topic that we have to understand, and that is the electromagnetic spectrum. I like to pose a couple of questions in order to gain a basic understanding. Have you ever been outside right when it stops raining and you've seen a rainbow? Or have you ever thought you've broken a bone and you've had to go get an x-ray? And I know all of you have watched TV and used the cell phone. So what do all of these have in common? Well, they all involve the electromagnetic spectrum. This spectrum charts or graphs electromagnetic waves, and they both use the electric and the magnetic fields, which you know is pretty evident with the name, right? So electromagnetic waves are a form of energy, and they travel through space at the speed of light. When I tell you that is fast, I cannot even describe to you how fast that really is. These waves are classified through frequency, or how often they occur. The most important electromagnetic wave is visible light because that's how you and I see every day. That's how I am seeing you and how you are seeing me. Since we are talking about ways to protect ourselves from the sun gives off something called UV rays or ultraviolet rays. These ultraviolet waves are what causes sunburn. We can't see these ultraviolet waves because they are invisible to us. We need very powerful telescopes in order to see that. Did you know that this form of invisible light can be seen by bees though? I think that's pretty cool. Together, all of these forms of light make up the electromagnetic spectrum. Today, however, we are only going to focus on UV light, or the ultraviolet light waves that I just mentioned. This will help us figure out what level of sunscreen that we need to protect ourselves from those powerful rays so we don't get burned and so that we can stay safe. I want to show you a picture of the electromagnetic spectrum. If you look specifically at the ultraviolet light, you will see that it is just out of our visible sight as humans. We see the colors of the rainbow, but really there are so many others to be discovered. We can't see UV light, which is why we need the sunscreen to protect us from the hot rays or radiation of the sun. Take a minute to explore this picture to see what else you see on the electromagnetic spectrum. If you think back to the question I asked, I mentioned X-rays, right? I also mentioned cell phones and TVs. If you have questions or comments, write them down in your journal. Now that we have an understanding of the electromagnetic spectrum and ultraviolet rays, I think we are ready to conduct an experiment to figure out what kind of sunscreen is going to best protect us. Before we begin, let's take a second to jot some notes to help us form a hypothesis about what SPF sunscreen will work best to protect you and me from the sun. And why do you think so? Once you have that written down, we will go over all the materials you need. So pause the video and then go ahead and hit play once you have collected all of your thoughts. There are a few materials that you will need to make this experiment successful. First, you need a pipe cleaner. Then you will need 10 UV beads. Next, you need 2 different types of sunscreen. Sunscreen with the SPF of 30 and sunscreen of the SPF of 50. If you have others laying around your house, that is fine too, but I know that in your STEM box you have those 2 that were provided. So I suggest using those because that is what I will be using. Once you have all those materials, grab your journal, grab your lab coat and your glasses, and let's head. Okay, now we're ready to set up our experiment. Now I recommend getting everything set and ready inside before you take it out. So I have strung 10 beads on my pipe cleaner. My beads came from right here. You have this in your STEM box as well. So once you have strung 10 beads on your pipe cleaner, I want you to take 3 beads and push them off to the right. Then 3 beads, push them off to the left. So you have 4 in the middle. And what these are going to represent, this is going to represent a person that is going to wear SPF 30 sunscreen, and the beads on the left are going to represent someone that is going to wear SPF 50 sunscreen. And the 4 beads are in the middle are going to be someone that is not wearing any sunscreen at all. So you're going to take your SPF 30 sunscreen and you're going to take it and put them all on the beads. Put them all around the beads. So this person is lathering up for maybe a day at the pool, a day at the beach, and they think SPF 30 is perfect for them. All right. Now the person on the left thinks SPF 50, which is the Sea Star Sparkle, is good for them. So they are gonna put Sea Star Sparkle on them, SPF 50. So the person on the left, you're gonna put it all on the beads on the left, just like this. So you see I have SPF 30 on the right, SPF 50 on the left, and my middle group is not wearing any sunscreen. So now you have set everything up. You are going to go ahead and tie this onto your wrist and go outside. And I want you to stay outside for 30 minutes. And I want you to note the changes of the colors of each bead. So notice the change of the beads that are covered in SPF 30. Notice the change of the color of the beads in SPF 50 and the change in color of the beads that do not have any sunscreen on. Think back to your hypothesis and that guess you made of which color would change and why. All right, I'll check back in with you in 30 minutes. Good luck. Welcome back. How did it go? Did you notice any color change when the beads had been exposed to the sunlight for 30 minutes? Which beads changed colors? Was there one that didn't change at all? Was there one that didn't change much? Let's take some time to talk about why this happened and let's connect it back to what we discussed all the way at the beginning of our lesson. The beads that you used contained a special chemical that changes color only when it is exposed to UV light. Remember, we said that ultraviolet light is an invisible type of light that comes from the sun. Now, this type of light isn't always safe because we already discussed that it causes sunburn, but did you also know that it can cause cancer and it can be very damaging to your eyes? The beads only turn colors when they are exposed to this light. Once they are in the shade or you bring them back inside, they go back to its original color. Let's talk about some discussion points for your journal and what we learned. How can we extend it and just wrap this up? What did we learn from this experiment? What is the importance of wearing sunscreen? I know that it's super important to wear it to protect our bodies and our skin from these ultraviolet rays. How can it protect us and what dangers do we face if we do not wear it? How does the electromagnetic spectrum that we discussed at the beginning of our lesson relate to UV light? These are all questions that we answered during this experiment, so please go ahead and take a minute, jot your answers, or draw a picture of it in your journal so that you have them for future reference. Pause the video and go ahead and get working, and I'll see you back shortly. So if you're like me, physics is one of my favorite topics to study and explore. I had a great time with this experiment and I wasn't ready for it to end. So I discovered an extension that I would love to share with you if you want to try it. Go inside and get a cup and fill the UV beads with it. Make sure they're clean, wipe off all the sunscreen because you're going to take that cup and fill it with water. There's a theory that says if you're in a pool or an ocean that you won't get sunburned because the water protects you from the UV rays. We're going to put that theory to the test. So with these beads in your water, I want you to then go outside. See if your beads change color. Do you think they will? Well, let's find out.